Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
I fell in love again. All things go, all things go. Drove to Chicago. All things know, all things know. Put out the fire and set me free. Put out the fire and help me let it be.
Well, hello again, friends in podcast land, and welcome to episode 99 of There's Still Time, the AFTN podcast. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Steve Pander.
And we're bringing you a special Chicago Fire preview podcast live from Thunderbird Stadium as the Whitecaps do their last training session in Vancouver before flying east to Chicago on Thursday, looking for their first win of the new season.
Would we classify this as a must-win?
Definitely a must-win. Every game's a must-win.
Sure, why not?
I had money on us going 34-0. It's like now...
It's over.
Yeah, it's gone.
But definitely a winnable game. If not a must-win, it's definitely a winnable game against Chicago.
They've never won in Chicago.
Never won in Chicago, so it's got a good opportunity to do it. Chicago has improved a little bit, but they've run into a lot of injury issues as well.
So we're going to talk about the game coming up. We've got some fantastic interviews, which I did down in Portland pre-season. So we've got those coming up with a couple of the Chicago players and Frank Yallop as well. Now, Chicago, they started their season with a loss, 2-0 defeat away to LA. They never looked like winning that game, but this is the first time they're going to have played in Chicago for a long, long time. They did their pre-season on the road. They started off in the UK. They had a couple of games over there. Then they came to the Portland tournament. So now they
started the season off in LA.
Yeah, started in LA. So now they're back in Chicago for the first time in a long time. And the Toyota Stadium pitch, the tarps only got taken off that on Monday.
Oh wow, okay.
So they're hoping it's going to
be frozen.
Well, it's. The training pitch at the moment is actually covered in snow.
Okay.
So this week they're training on turf. The whole week they're not training on grass at all.
Yeah.
Which to me seems a little bit strange, but it's how good that pitch is going to be. Frank Yallop did a conference call on Monday, and we'll hear a little bit of that later in the podcast. And he was saying he thinks it's a week, give it time to air, get settled in. He doesn't think it's going to be a problem, but Cal Robinson's expecting quite a bumpy pitch and That could affect our flair players.
There's no chance it could be postponed this game, right?
Oh no,
the weather?
Definitely not at all. It's just going to be a horrendous pitch that's there. Chicago are also, they're playing Notre Dame midweek. So by the time you listen to this, the game's probably going to have been played. And it's every player that did not play against LA is going to feature in that match. Because Yallop just wants to have as many players as possible to have some kind of like match experience ready to go. So that's going to be interesting to see how they approach the game. But to go back to what you said, which seems like ages ago now, it's definitely a very winnable game for the Whitecaps. So before we look too much more into the match, we're going to play you the thoughts of both coaches. Let's kick things off with that. So we're going to hear first from Whitecaps coach Carl Robinson talking about the game. And then from Frank Yallop's conference call on Monday, we're going to hear from the Chicago Fire manager.
They're a good team. They've got good players and brought in 3 new DPs as well. So it'll be a good game. I know Frank inside out and Frank knows me inside out. So it'll probably be cold. It'll be bumpy and it'll be interesting.
Do you anticipate shaking up your starting 11?
No, I think they played very well for 45 minutes, as I said. I think we could be better in areas. That's not saying there won't be any changes. There might be the odd change or two. I'll see how they are after the travel day tomorrow. But there's a lot of positives to take. As I said, we lost a game. It's one game and we move on. So, we would have liked to have won the game. Unfortunately, we didn't. But you don't turn into a good team overnight, and you don't turn into a bad team overnight. So, we just need to try and find a rhythm and a groove. Hopefully, that'll come on Saturday. If it doesn't, then it's got to come the Saturday after, and vice versa. So, the sooner we do it, the better. The boys are relaxed. They're looking forward to getting on the road. It's our first away game, so as we all know, it's difficult, but we'll be okay.
What's the forecast like?
Freezing, apparently. Yeah, very cold. So I'm assuming you might see some gloves and stuff with the Latin boys, but it's the same for both teams. It's no excuse.
Yeah.
We'll get to work.
But it's the same for both teams. Well, you guys have had relatively mild weather here to practice.
Yeah,
right?
we've been very lucky.
Yeah.
We've been very lucky. Chicago have been training indoors. I know that Frank's had his group indoors, so they'll get a chance to play in front of their home fans for the first home game, so they'll be ramped up. We just got to be disciplined, we've got to be organised, and when we get our chances, as we did on Saturday, we didn't take them, we've got to take them.
There's no sense of you going into away games with a slightly different mindset or approach to home games. Is there this season? Is there a consistency with your game plan all the way through?
Yeah, listen, we need to win games, and we all know that West is a strong conference, and throughout the season you'll have good times, bad times, and teams will have ups and downs. I could go and be hard to break down and try and get a point on the road, which I'm not saying I'm not going to do that, but draws are very difficult in this league. Chicago had a number of draws last year, I think 14 or 15. We had a number of draws, and sometimes draws can cost you moving up in the standings. So, I think it's important you do take something on the road, and we'll try and go there. We'll try and be compact and hard to break down. And if they don't score on us, we get a point. But having said that, we want to go and try and score.
These first three games are against Eastern Conference opponents, and they're just one game. So when you're looking at those one-off games against those teams in the East, are you thinking try and take maximum points?
Yeah, we try and win all the games. I said we were unbeaten against the East last year, and it was great. And the mindset this year was going in unbeaten against the East again. Well, that's sadly gone straight away, and our unbeaten home record has gone straight away. So, the only way's up for us now, which is good.
What do you see like sort of heading into this game? Like what sort of? I know coaches worry about everything. Yeah. What sort of is your thing that you're?
I don't worry about things. There's things that I know we can improve on, and there's worrying is there's a lot of worse worries for people rather than me as a coach of this team, which is a fantastic organisation. But they got 3 new designated players, 3 exciting players from Akam, the boy Kennedy, and Shaun Maloney. So they had a difficult year last year, so they tried to freshen it up. So it's a little bit the unknown. We played them in pre-season. We know they got good technical players, and Frank's trying to change certain areas of the game the way they play. So we'll be ready for it. We'll be prepared, and I'll go and enjoy the occasion.
Well, we played against them, a couple of weeks back. About 10 days, I should say, in the Portland tournament. I thought they're a good side. I mean, they're a side that's been together a little bit now for a while, and I think they move the ball well. They're dangerous in certain areas. I haven't analysed. I saw the game, watching other games as well on the weekend. I'll analyse it today. Really, try to make sure that we got all the stuff covered that Vancouver are going to throw at us. But having gone against them close up, they're a good side. And, good side. They made the playoffs last year, which is a tough division to do that. And they did that. So, and they haven't changed a ton from that group. So, tough game. But, we're at home. We're expected to, get on the front foot and make the game. And I don't see any different from us this game. Tough game last weekend for us. And I'm sure Vancouver will want to bounce back from their first game where they obviously lost at home. So, I expect a good game. It'll be a hard one, but one that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, hey, Frank. Quick question on Pamadou Ka and also Kendall Waston. What do you see in that partnership, and how exactly can the Fire get at them? They seem a little bit flat-footed, in my opinion. Looking at that whole Vancouver team, they're very impressive, but I'm just trying to figure out any areas that the Fire can really exploit them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we played against them. They're 2 big, strong boys, and they're very aggressive to the ball. They want to close players down and get tight on guys. We got to try to exploit if there isn't the space behind them, around them, and catch them coming in tight on us. So, but again, it's early in the season. They're going to find their feet. we're still finding our feet a little bit. So, we just got to make sure we're just not just concentrating on those two. We've got to get wide and get good service in the box. We've got to, we've got to counter-attack. We've got to do all the things that we're supposed to be doing and doing well against them. But, they're a good side. They've added, Boston played last year. Carr's joined, but he's an experienced player that's played in the league, and they haven't missed a beat. So, again, excited again for this weekend, and I want to see what we got and see some real emotion and some good play in front of our fans.
So that was the thoughts of Frank Yallop and Carl Robinson on Saturday's game that's coming up. It's going to be a tough one. We don't really know what to expect from Chicago. That's the problem. Even though the Whitecaps have played them in pre-season and we saw them against LA, they could be a whole different animal at home. And Frank Yallop needs to kind of get off to a winning start. And I think the worst thing that could happen for Chicago is if it ends up as a draw.
Yeah, they've had a ton of draws last year, so it'll be interesting to see how they come out. You think... opening game of their season at home. They haven't been, like you said in the introduction, they haven't been home at all very much. And this is their first time they're training, and they're training indoors. They're not even training outside, so they're kind of not getting used to the weather either. So it might be even up on that. It all depending on the pitch, whether the Chicago can grind something out or by negating Vancouver's overall talent.
And as Carl said there, it's going to be the first away game for a lot of the guys. There's going to be lots of gloves on display from the South Americans because they're going to be freezing. He also said in his piece there that there may be some changes. I mean, what do you see from the starting lineup for the Whitecaps? Do you think there's going to be any wide-scale changes or just a few tinkers?
I think there's... I don't think he might make too many changes. I'm going to say what I would change, essentially, and that's with them playing it looked like a 4-4-2, Chicago, and it looked like a diamond when they were playing LA. I'm thinking maybe move Morales into a deeper role. I would put Mesquita at in the attacking midfield behind Rivero, and instead of taking Tybert off, I would maybe move Tybert to a left wing position on the wide side, and maybe bring Kakuta off the bench in this game, and see if what they could do in that first 45 minutes and kind of develop something instead of worrying about speed too much.
I'm kind of with you in that. The problem you have if you take Kakuta out of it is there's not a lot of pace left in that team, because I want to see Mesquita get a chance, and Carol talked on Monday that one of the options is to drop Pedro a little bit deeper, have Mosquito maybe playing the number 10 role. Then what do you do then? It's like, do you put Tybert, as you say, on the right wing, maybe Rosales on the left? Or there's just... I mean, Vancouver are known as a pacey team. You take Kakuta out the team, they don't actually have any pace then.
No, but
all the pace is on the bench.
The reason I'm saying this is because there is enough space out there that maybe you don't need the pace and you need more... ingenuity in creating something from a wide area, and maybe send more crosses into the thing. Their center backs that they have, Chicago, that they started against is a young guy named Gehrig, who I don't know too much about, and they've dropped from a holding midfield position Jeff Laurentowicz, who is an MLS veteran, who is normally, like we said, a holding midfielder. So maybe you can take advantage and send some balls into the box that Rivera could connect to, and maybe Mesquita can get by playing behind him. So I think if they can send some of those, maybe they can take advantage of that, because they're more of a their midfield is going to be compact, so there's going to be space in the wide. Why do they need that much pace?
There is also the possibility that he might rest Mauro Rosales or start him on the bench, just because it's a travel east.
And it's cold too.
It's cold. He said he actually went into Saturday's game with a little bit of a knock.
So maybe take Rosales off and put Manny instead of that position.
Well, I'm thinking he might try Mesquita on the right. They did that for one of the pre-season games. I think it was actually the last one against Chicago. Yeah. They had Manny on the left and Mesquita on the right, and it did work in the first half, and then tired legs got the better of them in the second. So I really wouldn't be surprised. I think we'll definitely see Mesquita starting, and I think Rosales could be the guy to drop off. I also think we'll see some changes on the bench, and I expect either Marco Bustos or Kean's froze, or both of them on the bench. But my gut is, after the way that he played for Whitecaps 2 in a friendly against UBC on Monday night, I think we're going to see Marco Bustos get his first game day 18 appearance and being on the bench, and I also think he'll get some minutes. It's away from home as well, and it's less pressure on him to bring him on in a game like that. So I think that's the time to blood someone like Bustos.
Yeah. So and who knows if Morales struggles again, maybe they need some kind of pick-me-up there in that spot. Chicago itself, like we said, so many changes. They also got some injuries too, injury concerns. One of their DPs, David Akam, is out for, it looks like, for sure. Another guy who they're relying on for goals, Mike McGee, is not even been out for a while with a hip surgery or something like that. And then,
he's an old man now. Everyone has hips.
And there was a talk that their other DP, Kennedy, and I'm just going to say Kennedy because I can't pronounce the last name.
Yeah.
He came off the LA game with a niggle, but we're not sure if that's going to be enough to keep him off the starting 11. So they're running into injury issues. What do you see in there, and what did you see in Portland that concerns you or maybe encourages you for the Whitecaps?
Well, see, the thing is, I watched all 3 games that Chicago played down there, and they didn't impress me much at all. They didn't look too bad against Portland.
Is it because of the too many changes?
I don't know. They don't seem gelling yet, but I don't see where their goals are going to come from. That's the problem. I think they're going to be solid at the back, maybe not right away. Their midfield is going to be good, but I just think they're lacking a little bit of creativity.
They are, because if you look at the LA game, they had 8 attempts, but only 1 even on target during the whole 90. So they really didn't look struggling at all. And people were saying, I didn't get to see the highlights, but people were saying that LA could have been easily up 3-4-0.
Oh, yeah. The defence is going to be one of the keys, but the creative play is going to be one of the big things for them going forward. And it's how well their new DP, my fellow Scotsman Shaun Maloney, does for them. And talking to Shaun Maloney, I had the pleasure to have a lengthy chat with Shaun Maloney down in Portland, just kind of discussing what it is that made him come over to MLS, what he's hoping from Chicago Fire, a little bit obviously about Scotland, had to talk about that, his key, crucial goal that he got for Scotland against Republic of Ireland recently, and just a number of things about him. So here's Shaun Maloney.
Shaun Maloney! Oh! Shaun Maloney! Oh! Shaun Maloney! Leave the house and let's play go! Hey, oh, shake it all out! Here's Shaun Maloney, turn around! That's what it's all about! Oh! Shaun Maloney! Oh! Shaun Maloney! Oh! Shaun Maloney!
So we're joined now by Shaun Maloney. Shaun, you've not had much time to get used to things in MLS yet, but how are you finding life with the Chicago Fire so far?
Life with the club's been very good. They've been very helpful. But pretty much, like you say, the last 3-4 weeks have been very hectic. I was very glad to get my visa sorted and actually get back to the States to start the settling in period, and obviously that's here in Portland.
I know the first couple of games were actually over in England, so have you actually had any time to really settle in or see Chicago yet?
I had about 4 or 5 days when I first signed. I was lucky enough that I got the first week's pre-season in, which was actually pretty important. So I met all my teammates, barring David, who was away with Ghana. So that was pretty important, and yeah, I got to see some of the city. And although with pre-season it's double sessions, I didn't get to see overly much, but it was I got a pretty good feel for the city.
Are you getting used to the cold yet?
I'm from Aberdeen, so it's like I don't.
Chicago's worse.
No, Chicago's is a bit colder, but it's I'm not exactly used to a tropical winter, so the weather doesn't bother me.
Now, there's been a number of Scottish players come over to MLS in recent years. Vancouver's had Kenny Miller and another Aberdeen guy, Barry Robson.
Yeah.
And Portland had Chris Boyd. Did you speak to any of those guys before making the decision to come over?
No, I didn't. I did, particularly with Kenny and Barry Robson. I spoke to them during the time that they were here. Obviously, as I've played with both of them, so know them pretty well. So you tend to ask them how it's going, enjoyable, what they're enjoying, what they're not. And but when it came to my own decision, I didn't really want to have anyone else's input bar because it was my decision, and I'm going to have to live with it. And I think I'm pretty glad I did that, because I sort of threw myself like fully into it. So it's and I'm really glad that I actually made that decision.
So I was going to ask you, what was it at this stage in your career that made MLS the right decision? You were obviously linked with Leicester City, that seemed to fall through. You'd been linked with Chicago before the Leicester interest kind of became public. So what was it that made you decide to come over here now?
I think it had always been an ambition to play in the league. I think I wanted to experience a different country, and I think that was always in my mind. And then when I found out that Chicago were interested, and I met the manager, and I spoke to the owner, I think I was sold. I was pretty much, I bought into all the things that they were wanting to do. The club have had a tough time the last 4 or 5 years, and the owner has really backed the manager in terms of who he wanted to bring in, and I just I sort of fully bought into the ideas that the manager and the owner were wanting for the club.
How much have you actually got to see MLS over in Scotland and in England, and how much do you actually know about the league?
Well, as you know, it's still pretty, it's got a pretty high profile in the UK. I think there's games shown, and now obviously there's a Sky deal's been done in the last 24 hours, so the profile will rise even more. But it's not an unknown quantity, the league. It was something that I've watched previously, so it was from the UK, the profile's pretty high.
One of the things a lot of guys that come over from the UK, they find it a little bit difficult, and not just from the UK, but just like foreign players particularly, is the amount of travel that's involved in the league. Has anyone warned you of some of the quirks of the league, like there's so much travel, and that there's odd things as well, like media's allowed in the dressing room after games and all that kind of stuff?
I'm aware of that, and I don't see the travel as much a problem as it's made out. I think I understand the vastness of the country means that you have to travel, and there's some reasonably long flights. Although we're pretty fortunate with being in Chicago. We're pretty central, so we're actually pretty fortunate. But that's all part and parcel of being in the league. I think if you sign for it, then you have to, or you will be aware of it. And again, it's part of the decision making. It's I've played in European games in Britain. I play in international games where the schedule's even tougher physically in terms of playing a game and flying that night. So you get back into the UK at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and then have to get back to your club that afternoon. So I think that's pretty hard, but that's obviously what has to happen. With the MLS, they stay the night and then they fly back the following afternoon. So no, the travel I don't see as it's just part and parcel of the league. You have to accept it, or if not, then that will be part of the reason why you probably don't integrate into the league.
Did you speak to Gordon Strachan before you came over? And I take it you've not retired from international football. You still plan to play for Scotland. Did you speak to him about your decision to come over? Kenny Miller, obviously with Vancouver, went back and still played games. And towards the end, it started to take its toll on him because it's long flights. But you still plan to play internationally.
100%. I'll be available for my country, or I will continue to be available. I will try 100% to stay in that squad and to stay in the starting 11. And I did speak to the manager before the decision, before I made the decision, and he was very positive on the idea. And I was really glad that he was. And it was pretty simple. I asked him if it would have an impact on my international career, and he said no. And he just said, go where you're the most wanted, and enjoy playing as many games as you can. And that's all he said.
Now, you scored the game winner against Republic of Ireland, so just to indulge in some Scottish talk for a second, where does that rank in the goals that you've scored? Because that was a huge goal for the Euro 2016 campaign.
I'm pretty hopeful that it's going to be part of a moment that of us qualifying for the Euros. I think if we do qualify for the Euros, that moment will probably be magnified. on a personal note, but I think generally it ranks. It was such a special moment for the team, and obviously the individual moment. Very high. I think the pressure. I think as a professional, there's a pressure to every game. Even pre-season friendlies, there's a degree of pressure. But I think the pressure that we felt in that game, particularly being at home, and the necessity of winning the match, to have that moment of just pure relief, I think, or the majority of the moment was relief. It was it was a special time for me and the team. I think you saw with the celebration how much it meant to the whole team. And
I was celebrating in my living room.
Yeah, well, look, it's particularly in the stadium that the match was played. I think it was a special moment. It's when the stadium's full like that, and you're the home team. It's a really special place to play when you win.
Just the very last thing, are you the kind of player that sets goals for the season? And if so, what are your goals? But what are your hopes for this first season in MLS?
No, I'm not. I don't really set too many individual goals in terms of goals, assists. I think the only sort of personal target is to improve the team on more than just obviously my individual performance. Try and create a team that is successful within the league. And I think pre-season we're starting to get there. It's very difficult. We've got a lot of new players. I think I understand the responsibility that comes with being a DP. The responsibility that the team will look for me to have, and the club. And I'm going to give it 100%, and I will. And I think that's the most. I think, or that is a sort of prerequisite of me signing. And I hope it's a successful season.
That's great. Thanks so much for your time, Shaun. Wish you all the best for this year. Apart from against Vancouver in the 14th.
No, of course. Yeah.
That's great. Right, thanks so much, Shaun. Cheers. Thanks. So that was Shaun Maloney there, one of Chicago's 3 new DPs this season, and possibly the only one that might actually feature on Saturday.
Yeah, there's David Akam. He had a groin pull, I think, in Portland itself in the opener against Stabak. He didn't play at all against LA, obviously, and
yeah, he's definitely gonna be out for quite a few games. As you can hear, the Whitecaps players having lots of fun in the background. Maloney's an interesting one for me because he's still quite in his prime, and as you heard in that interview there, he's relishing coming over to Major League Soccer, and he's treating everything about it, like the fact that there's lots of travel, the fact that there's playing on turf pitches and weird things like media coming in the locker room and everything like that. To him, that's just all part of the experience. And what I like from that chat with him is he's a player that's come over, not with a big-time attitude. And yeah, he's not a big name. He's not like a Gerrard or a Lampard that's coming over from the Premiership. But, he's played internationally for Scotland. He still is going to play internationally for Scotland, as you heard there. Could be taking part in the Euros, hopefully, if Scotland get that far. But he's coming over with what I feel is the right attitude that players, not just UK but guys, but every foreign player that comes to the league needs to have that attitude that, yeah, MLS is a bit different. And let's embrace that and treat it as the whole experience. So I think he's going to do really well. It might take him a little bit of time to find his feet. He already got booked in the first game against LA. Yeah. I was thinking, oh no, he's going to get sent off now, and then this interview we've got is not going to be valid going into it. But I think he's going to do well for them, and he is a kind of a difference maker. Now the Whitecaps' own DPs and own difference makers really they need to step up in this game. Rivero, this is going to be the first time of him playing an away game in MLS. He's going to be playing on a grass pitch. In the cold. Well, I guess they're used to it a little bit down south as well. They have their times of the year when it gets cold there as well. Yeah, but it's going to be the first time that he's had to have the experience of travelling. Yeah. And then Pedro, as we know, has struggled last season for away games. So it's how good he's going to be this year. And I think from a Whitecaps point of view, that is going to be the key. It's how well our DPs do. That that could really be the difference maker in this game.
Yeah, and you don't discount the other guys stepping up too. They're going to need to step up as well. You were talking about Shaun Maloney's great attitude. I think another player who will be facing in the game with a great attitude and is missed by a lot of people here in Vancouver is Matt Watson. You had a chance to meet up with him in Portland as well and talk to him about his time away. He hasn't visited Vancouver yet because they haven't played in Vancouver since he left, but second time we're meeting against him.
Yeah, and we'll just play that in a sec, but it was a great chat with Matt. We talked about the Whitecaps, talked about his time in Chicago Fire and just the way that the transfer came about, everything like that. So without any further ado, let's play our chat now with ex-Whitecap Matt Watson.
Fire starter, twisted fire starter. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter.
So we're joined now by ex-Vancouver Whitecap Matt Watson. Just have a little bit of chat. So Matt, first of all, how did you find your first season with Chicago Fire?
It was interesting, obviously moved to Chicago, took a little while to settle in with the family and that. But obviously great city, my teammates welcomed me straight away, and I've got to play a lot more than I had in Vancouver, so that was a positive to take away, Obviously it's a bit of a difficult season for us on the field. We drew too many games and, we didn't make the playoffs. That's always disappointing, but as far as the organisation and teammates and things like that goes, great.
Now, I checked the stats, and yeah, you've played more minutes, you played more games, everything than in Vancouver.
Yeah.
The move from Vancouver, although it seems great that you're doing well in Chicago, how out of the blue was that? Because to us watching, it just seemed like from nowhere.
Yeah, it was kind of out of the blue, I mean, obviously it was in pre-season, so I'm kind of preparing to be Vancouver. I came actually to this tournament with Vancouver last year. So, I mean, I think once I brought in Morales, it was going to be difficult for me to play. And Robert just basically called me in to his office and said, look, I think this is best for your career, for you personally, he said, I'd love to, keep you here and whatever, but you're going to be sitting on the bench and I don't want that for you. So he moved me on. I actually already previously knew Frank, so I went on trial at San Jose a while back and it didn't work out for me to sign, but he always kind of kept tabs on me, and then the opportunity just arose. So, I mean, it was out of the blue and there was a bit of a shock to the family to suddenly have to move, halfway across America, but nevertheless, that's the way it is, and we just have to settle and get on with it. That's the job, so.
Now, looking back quickly on your Vancouver career, would you say your highlight was that assist you gave Darren in the playoff game in 2012?
Yeah, I mean, that's my personal highlight, I guess I would say. I think, as a member of the team, my highlight would be the performance in Seattle where we beat them 4-1, just to be part of that team. And, obviously, anytime we beat Seattle was a big deal, and to beat 4-1 at their place was amazing. But I guess the playoff thing is not that big because we didn't win. Ultimately, it was nice to get an assist in that, and what could have been, we had chances to put that game away, and that would change things for me, I think. But just not finish out that game feels like unfinished business, something which I still think about now. I had the one chance and then it went to Kenny and to Barry, and we didn't quite put that game away. So sleepless nights about that still. But the game in Seattle was one. We put them away and it felt good. So yeah.
Now, you did grab your first MLS goal last year against DC in September. What was that like for anyone that didn't see it? What was it like and how did it feel? Yeah,
I mean, it felt good. I mean, when I hit the ball, I hit it hard, took a deflection, went in. Again, we didn't win the game, so that took a little bit of the shine off it. But, I mean, anytime you score a goal, it's amazing. And, since I've been in MLS, obviously, I haven't been putting the ball back in net, so it's something I want to concentrate on doing more. So, hopefully I'll get a few more this year.
So Frank Yallop's had a big clear out this year. I think it was 16 players gone, 14 brought in. You're one of the ones that he kept, which obviously shows that he values you as part of the team. What does that mean to you, knowing that you are very much still in his plans?
Yeah, it means a lot. As I said, I've had a previous relationship with Frank, and we've kind of always kept in touch. Same time we went to San Jose, I kind of had a word with him, and he's always wanted to have me here. I think he knows what my game's about, so I think that makes it easier. I mean, as far as, for me personally, as far as off the field things, you never really have to worry about me, and I think he values that, and he knows I'm going to work hard on the field. So I think for him, it's simple, he knows what he's going to get with me, and for me, he's very much in the same light as, in the sense, he tells you how it is, he makes it obvious what he wants from you, he makes it very simple to play, he makes you comfortable at ease. So it's kind of, I guess we kind of have the same vibe in that sense. And yeah, just to be, still here, as you say, I had a big clear out, and just to know that, I'm in his plans for the future, and that it means a lot to me and my family. So.
Now, the Eastern Conference has got, you've lost 2 teams this year. You've lost Kansas City and Houston, but you've gained the 2 new guys, Orlando and New York.
Yeah.
How do you see the Eastern Conference playing out this year?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year, Obviously, we have, a couple of big teams coming in, spending a lot of money, so there's definitely going to be some, difficult games, and it's going to be interesting what they're about, the thing about this league is sometimes the teams come in and they look all great on paper and it doesn't pan out. We've seen it time and time again, so it's really going to be interesting. Obviously, I have no idea about what their stadiums and things like that are going to be, but from what I see, it's going to be amazing. Some good atmospheres, and hopefully will be some, Eastern rivalries we'll pick up and make the games interesting. As you say, we lost 2 good teams, but we've gained hopefully 2 more good teams, and it should be good for the league on a whole, I think, especially when it comes to playoff time. You want the standard of the league to keep progressing. I think it's been progressing since I've been in the league. I've only been in it 4 years, and every year you can see the level of the league getting higher and higher. More bigger players coming in, and the younger players, the standard of coming from college seems to be getting better as well. The development of the club seems to be getting better. Vancouver's a great example. They're bringing through a lot of great youthful players, and it's amazing to watch. And I think just as the league goes on, it's just going to keep getting better. So I'm excited to be part of it.
That's great. Thanks for your time today, Matt, and good luck for the season ahead, and hope you get a few more goals.
Thank you very much.
You're the fire starter, twisted fire starter. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter.
Ex-Whitecap Matt Watson there. And I've got to say, I've spoken to a number of footballers over the years, and I've got to say that Matt is one of the nicest guys that you're ever going to meet. Not even just in the football field, but just like in life. He's just such a nice guy to talk to, always has time for you.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that if you're when we were at the training pitch and everything like that, he would come and approach you. You don't have to come approach him, and he talked to you for give you 10 minutes of talking, ask you how you're doing and stuff like that. So it was a great guy, and he kind of missed in Vancouver.
And as he said in the interview there, he's the kind of player like a manager, Yallop, Robbo, Rennie before him. Doesn't have to worry about what he's maybe going to get up to off the pitch. He's not going to be out partying, he's not going to be out getting into trouble, he's not going to be falling over bike racks. He's just a family guy, and that's what you kind of need in the locker room, is a guy like that. He's become a fire starter, as we played you there. And although he misses Vancouver, it was the best move for him.
It was at the time, because there was just with Matthias Laba and a bunch of other players coming in, there was just no room for him, and I think it was the best thing for him. And obviously the Caps were able to make space for other players.
And as he said, they're talking about that 2012 playoff game against LA. He thinks about it a lot, and it was interesting to hear him say that if he'd taken his chances and stuff, things might have been different. But reading between the lines, I see him meaning that he'd still be at the Whitecaps. Rennie might still be at the Whitecaps because the Whitecaps would have won that game.
Yeah.
But as we say, I think it's turned out better for him. So he's going to be a familiar face for Whitecaps fans. A familiar face for Chicago Fire fans is going to be on the bench. We assume he's going to be on the bench anyway for the Whitecaps, which is going to be goalkeeper Paolo Ternaghi. Now, when Paolo first came over to MLS from Italy, he started off at Chicago Fire, made 9 appearances over 2 seasons, never really got a chance because of the form of Sean Johnson, and then he's been at the Whitecaps. This is his 4th season now going into MLS, and in the whole time that he was here last year, we've never spoken to him. So we thought, what better time?
There was no chance to speak to him.
There was a chance. But
I'm just saying, there was nowhere where it looked like he was going to get into a game.
No, but we thought, Chicago Fire's coming up. What better time to speak to Paolo Ternaghi than now? So here's our chat with Whitecaps goalkeeper Paolo Ternaghi. So we're joined now by Whitecaps goalkeeper Paolo Ternaghi. Paolo, looking forward to heading back to Chicago at the weekend after a couple of years there?
Yeah, of course. Was my first North American city where I live. So yeah, I have a lot of memories. At Toyota Park. I play my first games in MLS. So it's something that I look forward to go back there.
Now, how did your whole move to MLS come about? I mean, when did you know that Chicago were interested in you, and how did the deal go down to come over here?
Yeah, well, it was the winter 2012, and through agent, of course, I knew that the Chicago was looking for a goalie position, as they had Sean Johnson there was playing several games with the national team for the Olympic Games for the American national team. So it was an opportunity for me to step in this league that is growing, and I played there several games. So yeah, it was a good first step in MLS for me.
And you're at the Whitecaps now, and I think everyone kind of feels you're one of the most patient guys around, because you had to wait for your chance last season with David in such good form. But whenever we see you've always got a smile on your face, it's like you seem to have a great attitude. How hard is it though, when you know that the goalkeeper ahead of you is playing so well, and you just have to kind of either wait for him to make a mistake or some other thing to happen?
Yeah, of course, but I don't want to lie. Of course it's hard, but I think in a position as goalie, you have to sometimes deal with this situation where you are a backup. So your position in the team is, of course, to bring energy to all the guys. And for what it's concerned myself, I have to training every day as I can be in the following week and not in the following game. So yeah, for sure, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easier. But this is our position as goalie. So, and you have to deal with. And of course, I think the positiveness in the attitude it's important. As through the season, that you always have to be positive no matter what as a goalie. Also in a game, can happen. You make a mistake, everything, but you have to be positive. I think on the next ball, on the next situation. So I think this is why I'm always positive.
Now, this year there's so many more opportunities. There's the Canadian Championship, there's the Champions League, there's also the WFC 2 team. Has anyone spoken to you about what the plans are for you this season? I mean, do you think that you'll get some minutes in USL just to keep you kind of game sharp?
I think it's a great opportunity for us to have a second team in USL Pro, as last year we qualified for the first time for the CONCACAF Champions League. So as all the teams, all the players in the team, we have more games, so everyone will be involved in all this competition. So yeah, I'm happy about it and I'm looking forward. Yeah.
Now you came through the youth system at Inter Milan, and you're a Milan guy yourself, so it's like, did you grow up supporting Inter? Was that your team?
Yeah, it was my team, definitely. I went there when I was 9, so I grew up all the time there. I watched all the game, in San Siro, every home game. So yeah, I definitely was a supporter of Inter. Yeah.
And you've played for Italy at youth level, right up to under 20 level, and you're over at one of the Youth World Cups with them. What's your memories of that whole experience?
Well, it was a great experience, play for your country, it's something very, very unique, it's a great emotion. I remember, the first time I stepped in the field with, Italian national anthem, so you represent your country, it's something very good. You travel, you are young, but you have the opportunity to travel over the world. I traveled to Peru to play the World Cup, so it was something that, you can know also other school of soccer, football in the other countries when you play against them. So yeah, it was a great experience.
And you've been over here now for 4 years. Do you see yourself at any point wanting to go back to Europe and maybe try and get into one of the European teams, or do you like life over here?
Oh, I like here MLS. I think the league is growing, but I'm a guy that take all the doors open. If you would ask me like 5 years ago, do you think you're gonna go in MLS next year? I would probably say no, because So I think if the opportunity come, and I like it, I will take it no matter what, no matter where.
And at the Whitecaps here, obviously we've got Marius Rovda. Is he as crazy as he comes across?
Well, I think he's more a legend. I don't know that he's crazy. Of course, I like him as as goalkeeper coach. I found myself very good also last year when you said also that I didn't have any games to play, but he's still in training. I see myself that I grow. I got better. So thanks for the training we have with him. And of course he's a little crazy, but I think every goalie has his kind of craziness. So
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of goalkeeping.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Paolo, and good luck for the season ahead.
Thank you very much.
That's
guys.
great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice to talk to you. Paolo Tornaghi there, talking about his time in Chicago and at the Whitecaps. There's not been many players that's been Chicago and Whitecaps over the Whitecaps MLS era. You've got Tornaghi, you've got Watson, you've had them both here. Chicago's manager, of course, now is Frank Yallop.
And he's from Vancouver.
He's from Vancouver and, of course, was rumoured to be getting the job before Kyle Robinson got it. So we had a chance for an exclusive chat with Frank when he was down in Portland. We played part one of it in the build-up to the Chicago game at the end of the pre-season. So we're going to play you the second part of that now, where we just talked to Frank about the season ahead, the additions he's made to the team, what you can expect from Chicago Fire this year, and also a little look back as to where things went wrong last year for MLS's draw specialists. So here's Chicago Fire coach Frank Yallop. As you say, a lot of upheaval this off-season. Is it a case now, I mean, you've had a year in the job at Chicago, is it a case now that you've now got your team on the pitch, whereas last season you kind of inherited a team?
Yeah, I mean, when you make a lot of changes, though, it's, I wanted to make a lot of changes last year and we couldn't do that. So having said all that, we've made some good changes this year, but in the offensive ranks, I think defensively we've shored up that as well. So, there's a couple of spots I'm still kind of looking at, but at the moment right now we're in a pretty good place. I feel that the team that I've put out now is going to be more exciting to watch and play with for the players. So, we're going to be a more better on the eye team this season.
Just looking back quickly on last season, how would you sum it up? Where do you think it went wrong? Obviously, you're a little bit disappointed, but
too many draws. I mean, we had 18 ties. I mean, it was just, and we only lost 10 matches, I think.
I thought Vancouver was bad, but then
you look at it and you think, we just didn't have any difference makers. But we've hopefully added a couple. We have good mentality to work hard and try and do the right thing. So I was pleased with the overall commitment in pre-season. Has been very good. So I'm looking forward to seeing that come out in the season.
One of the difference makers you've added is my countryman Shaun Maloney. What was it that interested you in him, and what kind of impact do you see him making in Major League Soccer?
I just like his work rate, his endeavour, and he's got a little twist and a turn to him. He's an unselfish player. I think half of his games he gets at a point that means an assist or a goal in his career, pretty close to it. So, stuff like that I just like, and I've always liked the way he plays. Works hard for the team, and he's sharp and he's good. So, I had a chance to get him. I didn't want to let that go by.
What can Chicago Fire fans expect from the team this season in the Eastern Conference, and how tough do you think it's going to be in the East? You've lost two teams, but now you've got two new teams coming in. They look really strong. Yeah,
it's tough. This league's tough, because we're all kind of supposed to be equal, and parity is everything. So every game's tough. We got to make sure that we, get enough points to make the playoffs. That's the big thing, is getting that final playoff picture, and then who knows what's going to happen from there. So it's a big year for us, and I'm excited about it.
Every night she brings me Frankfurter sausages. How I love those lovely Frankfurter sausages.
So that's pretty much it for our Chicago pre-game podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've got to say, this is one of my favourite podcasts that we've done so far in the 99. Just getting to chat to these players and getting some good build-up to the game. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as much as we have putting it together. So just before we wrap up, can I give you our predictions for the weekend? What draw do you think it's going to be, Steve?
No, I think it should be a win. I think Vancouver 2-1.
Oh, I'm actually going to go for the draw. I've got some concerns about the pitch. I'm going to go for 0-0. I think it's going to be a pretty boring game.
Similar to the New England game last year?
Yeah.
With very little chances because of the wind and everything then?
And I'll take it, because the Whitecaps will get a point on the road, kick the season off, so that they've at least got 1 point going into their game with Orlando, and then their next game after that against Portland. I'd love to see the Whitecaps win, and I think from all their away games to kick off the season, especially against the East, this is a game that, as we said earlier, is definitely winnable. I just don't think they will. I'm going to go for 0-0. So that's it for this episode. As always, thanks for listening. So just before we go, Steve, just let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
And I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff, AFTN, AFTN.ca. You can also find it on Canadian Soccer News, CanadianSoccerNews.com. I'm also the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com, and you can read all my Whitecaps coverage on there. So that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Next episode we've got coming up is our 100th episode, special milestone episode. We've got a few special things as you'd expect for that. Some fun features and, yep, just watch for that coming on Sunday. So until then, as always, thanks for listening, take care, and mon the Caps.
When you're listening in some far-flung corner of the globe to the World Service of a Saturday afternoon, crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Somehow comforting, isn't it? You know, legendary names, fathers and sons on the terraces, cheesy peas at half-time, pint for dad, mum's at home making the tea. Everything's all right with the world, isn't it? Saturday afternoon is football.